Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. And today is August 23rd, 2024, and today is Friday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, we're watching the British pound not only catch up to the euro, but then push even higher. But first, we get today's major economic events. So we start out today at 2:30 South African time. Coming out of Canada, we have retail sales numbers coming out. Then at 4 p.m. from the United States, Fed Chairman Powell will be speaking. And then at 5 p.m. out of Great Britain, we have Governor Bailey will be speaking there. And lastly, all day today, we have Jackson Hole Symposium, which is super important to give us some indication for what's going to happen next with the interest rates. Now, looking at the market, starting out with the Forex symbols, the euro pauses, while the Japanese yen continues to strengthen. Looking at the indices, both the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ retrace, looking at commodities, gold dips lower, while oil gets a bounce. And looking at the stocks, they're really mixed, but most of them did dip. And lastly, looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin remains unchanged. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here we are with the British pound. It's on the top of its second resistance-ish level. You can see that clearly, 131 to 116. Now, it pushed higher than the euro did if we look at retrospect, but it did have a lot of catching up to do. Now, it is on multi-time frame resistance. So, looking at it at this stage, this is a big comeback from what it was 2 years ago when it was parity to the dollar 1-to-1. And that was because, if you remember, Theresa May had come into the politics. She was going to destroy the economy and, not a lot of conviction behind her. And then they had elections and, things kind of changed. And this is how you could see clearly in the market space how regulations and policy, depending on who the leader is of the country, has effect on the actual currency. So sure enough, we're at that top of the range here on the daily chart. Now looking at a daily, you can see that we pushed above our resistance, previous or recent resistance area, but we are on multiple time frame resistance. So I do expect a little bit of a pullback. If we look at the euro, we already got it. Okay, not big, but we already got about a 30 pip to a 40 pip pullback on there. So keep that in mind. Now looking at the Japanese yen, also getting stronger here at 145.86-ish level, also getting its bearing. And the question is whether or not it's going to continue to get stronger or it's going to correct itself. Now lastly, looking at the Turkish lira, makes new all-time record lows. Not big, 5 pips, but it's continuously just grinding lower. And again, this is a case in point where, you have bad policy, you have a bad prime minister who doesn't know how to manage the economy, and that reflects in the currency. So there you go. Now looking at commodities, gold getting a little bit of a sell-off yesterday. We dipped below 2,500. Okay, that's been a big deal. And we're at 24.95. Now this may be a good place for us to pick it up. In the anticipation it's going to challenge that high of 25.30 again. Now looking at crude oil, finally got a bounce. We hit that supporters level. Okay, that was a clear indication. When we hit at $71, that was very clear that it was an easy buy. Looking at the U.S. markets, they retraced just a bit yesterday. You can see that in after hours are actually bouncing here. And if we look at the NASDAQ, also retracing here. And now, jumping to the stocks. Now, they're all different, okay? Some are weaker, some are stronger. So let's take a look at it. Cisco holding itself up, okay? Did dip below that 200-day moving average, but, okay, and it did sell off a little bit from its, push higher, but still relatively strong. Now, looking at the other major stocks, Microsoft took a nosedive a bit, and so did Amazon. If we look at that as well, there we go. Amazon did as well. JP Morgan held itself on its highs. So, it's mixed. This is where we come to a very mixed kind of atmosphere in the markets. And if we look at AMD, that continued to be on the upside for the week altogether. And NVIDIA did sell off just a little bit. Okay, now we almost made it to our highs of 133, but we corrected ourselves. And lastly, looking at Bitcoin, unchanged, just at 60K. And that's just the nature of Bitcoin. Now, we've mentioned this several times. It's a very choppy kind of currency. It's it consolidates and then it busts and it pushes in one side or the other. You just have to have a lot of patience for it, if you're looking to trade that type of asset. This is Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day and a beautiful weekend. Thank you.